Look at me for a second. When was the last time you called yourself lazy? This morning? Yesterday? Now answer this. Would you call a child lazy if they were afraid to ride a bike because they might fall? Of course not. You'd recognize the fear immediately. But somehow, when it comes to your own dreams, your own goals, your own life, you've convinced yourself it's laziness. And that lie, that single misdiagnosis, is costing you everything. Because you can't fix lazy, but you can absolutely heal fear. The question isn't whether you're lazy. The question is, what are you so afraid of that you'd rather believe you're broken? And I need you to really sit with that for a moment because this is everything. This is the difference between a life spent beating yourself up and a life spent actually moving forward. See, if you've ever scrolled productivity videos at 2 in the morning, if you've read another self-help book that somehow made you feel worse about yourself, if you've beaten yourself up for just not doing the thing, this conversation is for you. And I'm not here to give you another hack or another tip or another morning routine. I'm here to tell you something that's going to change the way you see yourself forever. The mainstream narrative, everything you've been told, says that laziness is a character flaw that you need to discipline away. That if you just had more willpower, more motivation, more drive, you'd get it done. But that's not just wrong. It's actually dangerous. Because here's what nobody's telling you. You cannot hate yourself into a version of yourself you love. You cannot shame yourself into sustainable action. It doesn't work. It has never worked. And yet we keep trying, don't we? We keep thinking that if we're just hard enough on ourselves, if we criticize ourselves enough, if we call ourselves lazy enough times, somehow that's going to be the wake-up call. But it's not. Here's the truth they won't tell you, and I need you to really hear this. What you call laziness is actually self-preservation gone haywire. Your nervous system is trying to protect you from psychological threats, rejection, failure, exposure, inadequacy, the same way it would protect you from a physical predator. Think about that. Your body doesn't know the difference between a lion chasing you and the fear of posting something online and being judged. To your nervous system, threat is threat. Danger is danger. And when it senses danger, it does what it's designed to do. It freezes you. It hits the emergency brake, and the result, paralysis that looks like procrastination, avoidance that feels like apathy, stillness that everyone, including you, misdiagnoses as laziness. But it's not laziness, it's fear. And once you see that, once you really understand that, everything changes. Because you can work with fear. You can heal fear. You can have compassion for fear. But lazy? Lazy just makes you feel broken. And you're not broken. You've never been broken. You've just been fighting the wrong battle. So let me take you deeper into this. I want you to imagine something with me. Inside you are two wolves. Stay with me here. The first wolf is called action. The second is called fear. Now, every guru on the internet, every motivational poster, every self-help book will tell you to feed the right wolf. They'll tell you to starve fear and strengthen action. They'll say fear is the enemy. Fear is holding you back. Fear needs to be eliminated. But here's what they miss, and this is crucial. Fear isn't trying to stop you. Fear is trying to save you. Let me explain this because it's everything. Imagine you're 8 years old. You spend weeks working on a drawing for the school art show. You're so proud of it. You can't wait to show everyone. You put it up on the wall, and then you're standing there, and you overhear two kids laughing at it. Maybe they point. Maybe they say something cruel. And in that moment, something happens in your brain. Your brain, this incredible survival machine, creates an equation. It says, vulnerability plus exposure equals pain. And that equation gets filed away, not in your thinking brain, not in the part of you that makes conscious decisions, but in your ancient primal brain that's designed to keep you alive. The part of you that's been protecting humans for hundreds of thousands of years. Now fast forward 20 years. You want to start a business. You want to write a book. You want to post your art online. You want to share your music. You want to speak up in a meeting. Your thinking brain, your conscious mind says, just do it. What's the big deal? Just hit publish. Just send the email. Just start. But your primal brain, the one that's been keeping you alive, runs that equation again. Vulnerability plus exposure equals pain. And it remembers. It remembers that 8-year-old standing in front of that art show. It remembers the shame, the humiliation, the feeling of being small and exposed and wrong. And it does what it's designed to do. It hits the emergency brake. Not because you're lazy, but because last time you tried something that mattered, something that required you to be vulnerable, it hurt. And your nervous system's entire job is to prevent hurt. So that second wolf, that fear, it's not your enemy. It's a traumatized guard dog that never learned the war ended. It's still standing at the gate, still protecting you from a threat that might not even exist anymore. And you can't win by fighting it. You can't beat it into submission. You can't discipline it away. You win by thanking it for trying to protect you, and then gently, compassionately, showing it that you're safe now. That you're not that 8-year-old anymore. That vulnerability doesn't have to equal pain. That exposure can actually lead to connection. But how did fear learn to disguise itself so perfectly as laziness? That's what we need to understand next, because this is where it gets really interesting. Years ago, I met a woman, let's call her Maria, who told me she was too lazy to exercise. She'd been saying this for 15 years. 15 years of calling herself lazy, of feeling guilty, of starting and stopping and starting and stopping. And when I sat down with her and started asking questions, I asked her about her childhood. And she mentioned almost casually that she was a competitive swimmer. At 14, she was training for nationals. She was good, really good. At 15, she tore her rotator cuff and couldn't compete. So I stopped her and I said, wait, you went from elite athlete to too lazy to exercise in one injury? How does that happen? And she paused. And in that pause, I could see something shift. Then she said something that broke my heart. She said, after the injury, everyone stopped seeing me as the swimmer. I became nothing special, just regular. And I think I stopped trying because if I tried and still ended up regular, that would mean I really was nothing. Do you see what happened there? She wasn't lazy. She was protecting herself from the possibility of discovering her ceiling. As long as she didn't try, she could maintain the fantasy that if she wanted to, she could still be great. She could still tell herself, well, if I really committed, if I really gave it my all, I could be amazing. But effort would force her to confront reality. Effort would answer the question, what am I actually capable of? And what if the answer wasn't what she hoped? So her nervous system said, stay frozen, stay safe, don't risk finding out. And this is what's happening to you. Every single time you call yourself lazy, you're really saying something else. You're saying, I'm afraid that if I give my best and it's not enough, I'll have to face the truth about my limitations. And that's terrifying. Because we can live with, I didn't try. That's a story we can manage. We can wake up every day and say, well, I could have, I just didn't. But I tried my hardest and failed? That's a different story. That's a story that feels like it might destroy us. But here's the real secret, and I need you to hear this. Your ceiling is so much higher than you think, but you'll never know it from the ground. The only way to find out what you're capable of is to stop protecting yourself from the discovery. You have to be willing to risk finding out. And I know that's scary. I know that every cell in your body might be screaming, no, stay safe, don't risk it. But that's not wisdom. That's just old programming. So if it's not laziness, what is it really? Let me break down what's actually happening in your mind and body right now. First truth. Laziness is a symptom, never a root cause. When you peel back laziness, you find fear. When you peel back fear, you find a story. And usually it's one you absorbed before you could even question it. Stories like, I'm not smart enough. I'm not talented enough. People like me don't do things like that. I always fail anyway. It's too late for me. Everyone else has it figured out except me. These aren't truths. These are just stories. But when we believe them long enough, they become our reality. Second truth. Your nervous system cannot tell the difference between physical threats and social threats. Rejection activates the same pain centers in your brain as a broken bone. So when you avoid hitting publish or send or start, you're not being cowardly. You're not weak. You're responding to legitimate danger signals. Your body genuinely thinks you're protecting yourself from harm. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. The problem is the threat isn't real anymore. Or at least, it's not life-threatening. But your body doesn't know that. Third truth, and this is the paradox. The very mechanism that's designed to keep you safe is keeping you stuck. Your fear is real. Your pain is valid. And you're not in actual danger anymore. All of these things are true at the same time. Healing means honoring the fear while moving anyway. Not from discipline, not from forcing yourself, not from being hard on yourself, but from deep self-compassion. From saying, I see you, fear. I know you're trying to help. Thank you. And I'm going to move forward anyway, not because you're wrong, but because I'm ready. Fourth truth. You're not lazy, you're under-resourced. Nobody taught you how to regulate your nervous system. Nobody taught you how to separate your worth from your performance. Nobody taught you that failure is just data, not identity. Nobody taught you that you can be imperfect and still be worthy of love and belonging. You're not broken. You just never got the manual. And that's not your fault. But it is your responsibility now to learn these things. So what do you actually do with all of this? How do you take this understanding and turn it into movement? Let me give you some immediate steps. First, rename it. Stop saying I'm lazy. Start saying I'm scared or I'm protecting myself. Watch how different that feels in your body. Language shapes reality. When you call yourself lazy, you're attacking yourself. When you call it fear, you're acknowledging what's really happening. And acknowledgement is the first step to healing. Second, try the 5-minute exposure experiment. Pick the smallest version of the thing you're avoiding. Not the whole project, not the entire workout, not the complete business plan. Just 5 minutes. Just one stretch. Just one paragraph. Just one email. The goal isn't completion. The goal is proving to your nervous system that exposure doesn't equal death. You're literally retraining the guard dog. You're showing it, see? We did the thing and we survived. We're okay. And the next time will be a little easier. Third, separate your identity from the outcome. Before you do anything, say this out loud. My worth doesn't depend on how this goes. I'm valuable because I'm human, not because I produce. Say it until you feel it. Because this breaks the equation that's been running your entire life. This breaks the connection between performance and worthiness. And when that connection is broken, suddenly you're free to try without the weight of your entire identity on the line. Fourth, find your witnesses. Share your fears with someone safe. Not for advice, just for acknowledgement. Say the words, I'm not lazy, I'm terrified of failing. Speak it out loud to another human being, because shame thrives in secrecy. Shame lives in the dark. Connection kills it. When someone else says, me too, or I see you, or that makes so much sense, something in you relaxes. You realize you're not alone. You're not uniquely broken. You're just human. You came here today thinking you were lazy. You're leaving knowing you're afraid. And that changes absolutely everything. Because lazy means broken. Afraid means human. Lazy requires punishment. Afraid requires compassion. Lazy is a character flaw that you're supposed to fix by being harder on yourself. Afraid is a nervous system doing exactly what it was designed to do, just in a context that no longer requires it. So here's your new truth. And this is what I want you to carry with you from this moment forward. You're not lazy. You're not broken. You've just been fighting the wrong battle. You've been trying to force yourself into action while your entire system is screaming danger. That's not a discipline problem. That's a disconnect problem. The work isn't to push harder. The work is to heal deeper, to thank the part of you that's been trying so hard to keep you safe, and to gently teach it that you're ready now. You're ready to risk being seen. You're ready to try, even if you fail. You're ready to discover that your worth isn't on the line, just your growth. And here's what I want you to remember every single day moving forward. I am not lazy. I am learning to trust myself again. And that starts with compassion, not criticism. Say it with me. I am not lazy. I am learning to trust myself again. And that starts with compassion, not criticism. This is your new mantra. This is your new truth. This is how you talk to yourself from now on. If this hit you somewhere real, if something in you shifted while listening to this, do me a favor. Hit that like button so that other people who need this message can find it. Drop a comment with one thing you're going to stop calling laziness and start calling fear. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe to this channel because we're just getting started on rebuilding your relationship with yourself. We're just beginning the work of healing the parts of you that have been in pain for so long. You've got this. Not because you're disciplined, not because you're going to force yourself, but because you're brave enough to look at the truth. You're courageous enough to see yourself clearly. And that courage, that willingness to be honest about what's really happening, that's where all transformation begins. Now go be human. Imperfectly, beautifully, courageously human. Go make mistakes. Go try things. Go fail and get back up. Go discover what you're actually capable of when you stop protecting yourself from the discovery. Your life is waiting for you. And it always has been. You just needed permission to stop calling yourself lazy and start calling yourself afraid. Well, you have that permission now. So go. Go live. Go try. Go be everything you were always meant to be. I believe in you. Now it's time for you to believe in you too.